My name is Jamin Goecker. I'm a realtor in South Central Alaska with Keller Williams, and my mission is to help you to build an intentional and significant legacy for yourself and your family by coaching you in real estate. And today, we're going to be talking about what's going on in the largest real estate market in all of Alaska, and that, of course, is Anchorage. We're going to be looking at the residential, the condo, and the multifamily market, and I'm talking about what it is that we're seeing as we're getting closer to the end of the year. Now, before we get started, though, do make sure you give this video a like, subscribe if you haven't done so already, and let's go and jump into today's market update. Now, the very first thing that we see is for the first time since January of 2018, we actually see more inventory coming onto the market than we saw in the previous year on the same month, which in this case is going to be November. There's about 291 properties available on the market this time last year. Now it's 295. Still very, very small compared to the inventory we have in previous years. It's actually still about a third or a quarter of what we usually see on the market during this time of year. But that's still a trend we want to keep an eye on because, as we know, supply and demand are the big cornerstones, backbones of the economy. And if we start seeing supply suddenly shooting up, then that's something for us really to take notice of. Now, increasing by 4 year over year is not shooting up, but it is still something we want to keep an eye on. Now, the next thing we're seeing on the residential side is that there were 309 properties that closed this time last year. Now it's 177. So we're starting to see that there are fewer and fewer properties that are actually selling now, actually closing during the months that we're looking at. And really what that is just all the, at this point, years of having a low inventory is starting to catch up with us. And you can't just keep producing record producing month after record producing month with an inventory that's dwindling. So these numbers are finally catching up with us, and that's a huge drop off from what we saw this time last year, but not unexpected. Now, the next thing we see is that the average sold price in Anchorage went from about $424,000 this time last year to about $456,000 this year. That's right, it is continuing to go up despite all the headlines and everything that you're seeing. Now, average sold price increased this time last year by about 6.9%. This year, same year to date, it is at 7.9. So instead of the rate at which things are increasing, going backwards, seeing a decrease, we're seeing it's actually increasing by the rate at which it's going up, which is not something that I would have predicted about a year ago. I would have said probably about this time we're going to start seeing kind of a pulling back at the rate at which things are increasing, and that's not what we're seeing in Anchorage right at the moment. So we're going to keep a close eye on it in the future, kind of just monitoring it with the same intensity that a scientist uses when you're applying theories and seeing if they're working out. But yeah, that's definitely an anomaly that I'm keeping a pretty close eye on at the moment. Let's switch gears a little bit and take a look at what's going on in the condo market. So in the condo market, this has really on the inventory side been drastic in the past couple months here. The inventory this time last year was roughly about 170, if I recall correctly. Now it's sitting at about 82. So 82 condos for the entire market of Anchorage, which is about a fifth of what it has been in the market for the same month in previous years. So inventory has, as a matter of fact, gotten more compressed over time moving forward than what we've seen in previous months, which makes sense. We have a lot of people that are just fed up all the scary headlines, and they're like, I'm just going to go find something that's a little bit easier to get into. I'm just going to go find a condo. And that's really what I've experienced recently with listing condos, and they are on and they are off. Condos are a very hot commodity right now in Anchorage, just because there are so few of them, and people are deciding that they're done trying to find a single-family residential, so they're going to switch gears and find a condo. Let's take a break here real quick. For those of you who have been watching for a little bit, you do know that I host a podcast called the Alaskan Journey Podcast, and the purpose of that podcast is really tell the stories of people who have recently moved up here to Alaska or those who've lived up here for a long time. So if you're thinking about making a move up here, that might be a great place to start so you can kind of start seeing what other people have done to accomplish what it is that you're wanting to do. So link for that is going to be in the description section down below. We've got tons of episodes on there, so jump in there, go treat yourself. And without further ado, I'll let you go ahead and get back into today's market update. No big surprise here. Number of units that have actually sold dropped from about 124 this time last year to 66 this year. So just about cut in half from where we were this time last year. Again, not a huge surprise if you see the inventory get cut that much. Now, what we see on the increase for the average sold price is it didn't go up by as much as I would have thought. So with everything we're seeing here, I would have projected like the average sold price must just be shooting through the roof. But instead, we're seeing that it went up about 4.6%, which, this time last year, it increased by about 6%. So despite the fact that we are seeing really a diminishing inventory, we're seeing more demand, and the average sold price has gone up, but not by as much as you would think. The average sold price this time last year was about $230,000. Now it's about $241,000. So it is increasing, but not by as much as you might think. Let's take a break here real quick. For those of you who have been listening for a while, you do know that I focus primarily in the South Central Alaska area, which is going to be Anchorage, Palmer, Wasilla, Big Lake, pretty much everything in the South Central area within about 50, we'll say 50, about 80 miles of Anchorage. I know a lot of you, though, are in fact wanting to move to places that are not just Anchorage, and so for that reason, we went ahead and created what is called the Trailblazer Project, where we have people all the way from Fairbanks, Kodiak, Kenai, Homer, Juneau, all these places across the entire state that are coming onto the channel to provide their insights on what's going on in their specific markets. So do be looking for those videos and make sure to give them plenty of love, plenty of likes, and plenty of comments in those comment sections so we can show our appreciation for those agents in those areas that are helping. Now, let's go and finish up today's market update, looking at what's going on in the multifamily market. Now, what we're seeing for the number of multifamily properties that are available is this time last year there was 113, and now there's 50, which that's about a quarter or maybe even a fifth of what we saw in previous years during the same month. So kind of the same story as condos. The inventory that's available is in fact going down from what it was in the year before. Not surprisingly, the number of multifamily properties that have sold in Anchorage went from about 49 the year before to 26 this year. So yes, the number of properties that have sold has actually been cut in half on the multifamily side. Last but not least, we see the average sold price for multifamily properties went from approximately $500,000 this time last year to about $507,000 this year, which that doesn't sound like a big increase, and it's not. I think that's about a 1.5% increase, and the year before we saw about a 15% increase for the average sold price for multifamily. So